You're exactly correct in the fact that, we have you call them internal time sucks, I think,
Yeah.
in your book. Talk about those and, how that translates into productivity.
Okay, so an internal time suck. I have a character in my program that I call Time Suck Ninja. So it's my goal for everybody to become a time suck ninja. And there are internal and external time sucks. The internal ones are the things you do to yourself.
Hmm.
So it might be that when you feel stressed, you start scrolling on your phone. Or let's say you work from home 3 days a week and you feel stressed. You decide to take a break and you turn on Netflix, and the next thing you know, it's 7 o'clock and you didn't get anything done. Or whatever that is, right? It could be that you go to your email box and you start looking at all the emails, even the sales junk, even the things that don't matter, because it's a way to avoid doing the harder project that you know is the thing on your to-do list that you really should be focused on. Those are internal time sucks. Other kinds of internal time sucks could relate to, sometimes it can be deeply psychological. You could be avoiding a level of success because you're afraid of being rejected. That happens to people all the time. That's an internal time suck in a way. It's something that you're stopping yourself from doing what you know you need to do because you have a level of fear in some way about what's going to happen down the road when that succeeds.
Yeah.
So, getting a grasp on those things and then learning how not to do them, learning how to replace that pattern. And I do habit building with people where we look at the concept of a habit loop. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
So basically you may have a trigger that causes that habit to happen. And when you do that, if I'm stressed about a big project and I walk away from my computer for a while and I sit down in front of Netflix and I do that activity, the reward is numbing out. The reward is not being stressed anymore. And now I haven't gotten the work done. That creates more stress. But if I create a new habit loop, if I recognize that there's that trigger, when I feel that level of stress, what can I do instead? Maybe what I can do instead is take a walk around the block. And that walk around the block, yeah, it takes a couple minutes. It takes 5-10 minutes, whatever it is, but it moves my body. It makes me feel more relaxed. It gives me time to think without distraction. And then I come back and I start again.
I think that's excellent.
You still get the calm. You still get the little bit of break, but you're not doing something that's going to suck you in for hours and stop you from doing what you need to do. Or the streaming, scrolling on your phone, and now you're like feeding these fears. Because now you're looking at social media and you're seeing your competitors and how successful they are, and you're not good enough, and whatever goes through your mind, right? So when you stop that, you find a benefit, a good habit, and you replace the bad habit in a way that helps you get recharged.
Again, and you combine that with what we were talking about earlier. So burnout, you're burnt in your job, you're overworked, you're overthinking, and then you go home and you have these internal time sucks where you're scrolling social media or you're looking at your numbers or whatever you're doing. Like both of those things, oh my goodness, that could be a recipe for disaster.
Right. And the other thing is, let's keep in mind that when we go home and we've got our numbers in our head and we've got our whatever it is about work in our head to the point where we now have a family we're ignoring. We now have a partner who feels marginalized or feels ignored or thinks you don't love them anymore, right? Because you've detached in that way. And that's all part of burnout, but it's also something that once that ball starts rolling down the hill, it can be really hard to stop it. So one of the things that I suggest people do in that situation is to have a sense of, okay, here's what I expect to accomplish today. You may have a to-do list, you may have a Kanban board, however it is you do those things. You take that and you go, okay, half an hour before your workday's over, you go through what you needed to do today. You have, you got this done, you didn't get that done. And first of all, you take the judgment out of it. Stop, don't beat yourself up about it. Just be real. And you look at those things you need to do tomorrow, right? Here's what I've got for today. Maybe this is what I've got for tomorrow, but I need to shift some things around. What matters the most? Plan what you're going to do for tomorrow and finish your day. Consider that your day is closed now. When you leave and you've closed your day and you're prepared for tomorrow, you know what you need to do tomorrow. Then you can go home with a clear mind and you can focus that on enjoying the time with your kids or going for dinner with your wife and having a nice conversation and not sitting there at the table with your phone in your hand. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that makes me more crazy than when I'm with somebody and they can't take their phone out of their hand, or it's on the table and half of their bandwidth is tethered to that phone. And
hey everyone, a quick break in the episode today. Are you struggling to find and keep the right employees? You're not alone. High turnover drains time, money, and morale, leaving us frustrated, overwhelmed, and feeling like we have to settle for less. I understand how tough hiring can be because I've lived it. And with over 21 years of building high-performance teams, I know how to turn hiring challenges into lasting employee success. Through my proven LEAD framework, we're going to analyze your processes, design a personalized strategy, and implement solutions that create confident and long-term results. Don't let turnover hold you back. Choosing this program is that first step towards a thriving workplace. Enroll today at thejohnespinosa.com and build the team you deserve. Imagine a team that works seamlessly together or keep facing the same costly cycle of turnover. The choice is yours. Now back to our episode.
It's why bother? Why be with me at all, right? Why sit there with me wasting my time while I'm sitting at a table with you, trying to connect, and you're looking at your phone?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how other people feel, whether it's a customer, whether it's your spouse, whether it's a friend that you're spending time with on the weekend. If you are somewhere else, so, the big message out of this is what I call be here now. Whatever it is whatever it is you're doing right now, do that. And don't try to be multitasking 100 different things. We can't multitask.
We have this saying in the Go Be Great community on the podcast that diluted results or diluted focus equals diluted results.
Yeah.
And, we have this concept that I think, again, back from grade school, that we build up, that multitasking is a good thing. It's a good skill to have. I remember interviewing for jobs very early on in my career, and they would ask a question on how do you multitask? But in the end,
you don't.
We're spreading the peanut butter thin, right?
You don't. You can't. You literally can't. We now know from psychological studies that, and they've done PET scans of people's brains and they've recognized there is no such thing as multitasking. There's bouncing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And every time you do that, you deplete certain things in your brain chemistry. So you're also, if you're somebody, and this is everybody, you get the most done in a flow state. When you interrupt a flow state, there are certain chemical things that happen in your brain. It takes you 15 minutes to get back into the flow state after you're interrupted. If you're most productive in that flow state and you can prevent that interruption from happening, you're going to multiply the value of that time exponentially. So one of the things I tell people is get rid of the notifications. That's my first, time suck thing, the major do it right away, is eliminate notifications on your computer and on, ideally on your phone too, and schedule the time to look at those things or delegate. So if you're in a position where you have staff who you have an assistant or you have somebody who can actually look at your emails for you and get rid of the crap before you even look at it, great. If you don't have that, at least block time to do it. And one of the things I found is very helpful is, and you can do this on Outlook. I haven't figured out how to do it on my Google emails yet. But you can sort by who the sender is. And when you sort by sender, you can delete entire categories of emails without even looking at them, because how much of it is just junk?
Yeah.
And you're getting things from a company you bought something from 5 years ago, but you don't want to delete it because maybe one day you'll buy from them again. And yet you're getting all this junk. And if you can categorize it down to the senders, you can just get rid of massive numbers of emails all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great point that you make. Like, there are inherent things that people feel they have to be connected to. Their calendar, to their email. And again, that's wrong. I think we get into business like watching old movies, or I don't know where we get this perception from that the boss has to be in their inbox. They have to be managing their calendar, when those are opportunities, those are time management opportunities for us to hire those things out. Talk a little bit to that. I mean, where have you used time management strategies, whether it's hiring it out, whether the tip that you just gave with categorizing emails? And I want to go back to the word flow. How can the listener recognize what flow is when they're in flow?
Well, when you're in flow, and it's really funny because I just had a podcast with someone recently who has ADHD, and she said something about her time blindness. And I said, that's your superpower. And they teach people with ADHD that this is a bad thing. It's actually not a bad thing. It's an amazing thing, because time blindness is a flow state. Time blindness is when you get to the point where you're in it, you're doing that thing, you're in the zone, as some people say, and you're just doing it, and you're not thinking about other things. You're not the noise in the background doesn't bother you. You're not thinking about what you're going to eat for lunch or who you need to call or any of that. You're just in that project, and you're focused on that project, and with somebody who's got ADHD, they need to find strategies to limit that, to create a thing where maybe they have a timer and they work like that for an hour or whatever, so that they don't forget to go to the meeting at lunchtime. But at the same time, being in that state, that's the nirvana, that's the goal. And when you get in that state, you get so much more done. And you get so much better thought in the time, because you're not diluting what you're doing and trying to do 5 things at once.
I love it. I love it. One of the things, and I know we've been really focusing on the individual here, and I want to transition us because a lot of our listeners, they're either new to leadership, they're new to business, they're solopreneurs, and now they're building a business, they're scaling up. So this kind of question that I have for you, you've worked with both individuals and teams, right?
Yes.
Finding a connection to thrive in high performance environments. And again, that confusion between high performance means you're constantly busy all the time, right? So I want to differentiate there, but also for our listeners who want to help their teams avoid burnout, who want to help others avoid burnout, but they still want to hit those big goals.
Yeah.
What practical steps can they take to create a culture? Because in the end, it's all about the culture that we're creating, where people feel productive and happy in that culture without like this pressure to overproduce.
Right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you've got a team who all feel like they're valued, they are contributing, and the contributions they're making are aligned with what lights them up and makes them feel good.
Bingo.
Okay. If you have somebody who's extremely detail oriented and loves making sure that everything's right, and there are people like that, I'm not that person. If you ask me to do accounting or do things involving extreme levels of detail, I will zone out so fast you wouldn't even know. But there are other people who are, that's their happy place. You want that person to be in their happy place, not my happy place. And so let's say you're the solopreneur who's going to grow. One of the things you want to start recognizing is, what are the parts of what I do that really light me up and I get a lot done and I bring value, versus what are the things that I feel like I have to do that I don't feel excited about. Then you want to find somebody that's their happy place, right? That's their strong point. And you want to bring them in and give them authority in that realm, give them the ability to do their job and do it well, because quite candidly, they're going to do it better than you. So why should you interfere? But a lot of us do have that, like, it's all about me and I am the one and I need to do everything or control everything. And yes, there are circumstances. For instance, as a lawyer, I had a trust account. I couldn't just have staff deal with my trust account and trust that they would do 100%. There are a lot of lawyers who lose their licenses because somebody stole money from the trust account, for instance. You have to pay attention, but that doesn't mean you have to do everything. It might just mean that for that account, you're the only one with signing authority and you pay attention. It doesn't mean you have to do the nitty-gritty. And there are ways to do that with technology. You don't have to necessarily do it all yourself.
Yeah. I wrote down here, when we delegate, when we begin, to our teams to delegate tasks, we find gaps.
Right.
And those gaps are either opportunities for training for our team, or they're opportunities for us to go out and hire that talent. Back to what you were saying, surround yourself with smarter people than you are.
Right.
I always love that idea, that concept, right? Hire people that are smarter than you are.
Yeah.
Then empower them to
and one day then you can be on your private island while they're paying for it.
There you go. No, you're right.
Because what you ideally want as a business owner is a business that can be self-sufficient while you go on that trip to Europe with your kids.
Yep.
Or on a safari where you don't have connectivity for part of the time.
Yeah.
Ideally, you should be able to be gone for a while and not even have your phone be able to connect you with the office. And I think today it's harder for people to wrap their head around that. I started working in an era when, connecting with the office meant pulling out my phone card and calling from a payphone.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the time, and it was hilarious. I even then, like, I did have this sense of like finding the joy in what I was doing, and in that moment of my life, I was traveling all the time. Like three weeks out of the month, I was on the road. And I was single at the time, and I found ways to have really good trips. And so one of my trips was 4th of July. I ended in Billings, Montana on a Friday. I drove into the kind of northeast part of Yellowstone, went south, came out in Cody, Wyoming, went whitewater rafting, went to a rodeo, came out the other side on my way to Helena at the end of the weekend. And I get to the payphone, literally, like, there's a payphone in a rest area. There's like an empty asphalt parking lot, and it's Sunday night, and I've got work on Monday in Helena, and I pick up the payphone to call back to my office to see if I have messages. And I had so many messages. And it was because somebody at Hertz had screwed up, and they thought that my car was a one-day rental.
Oh, no.
And now we're talking, it's about a week now, and I still have the car. And they had called my boss and told my boss that I had disappeared. And my boss wasn't aware because she was out of the office, and this was before everybody had access to everybody's calendar and all that. She didn't know if I was alive or dead. She was like, where is she? And all these people were calling me, Michelle, where are you? Michelle, where are you? It was like, oh my God, they all think I'm dead and I stole the Hertz car. So, but today, obviously, it's not like that. They would have been on me in 5 seconds with a text message about the Hertz car. But it was a lot nicer then to be able to take off on that holiday weekend and literally not have anybody bothering me about work for 4 days. There was no contact at all. And, we forget those businesses didn't fall off a cliff. They didn't disappear because people didn't have contact for 4 days, they continue to operate. Anything we do can continue to operate without us having to be constantly like never-ending activity.
So what are some practical things? You mentioned, back when they couldn't get a hold of us, when we didn't have shared calendars. What are some things that our listeners can do to really unplug when they're away?
Yeah, well, I think part of it is your team has to all be on the same page, right? So everybody has their part and everybody knows what it is. And they do their job well because you've trained them. They understand what the expectations are. You've selected good people to begin with who you know are quality people. They're smart, they're independent. They can make a decision in a pinch if it has to be made. And you've given authority to them to own their area of expertise. And then as far as your part, maybe you have a part, maybe you don't. Maybe now you're just managing it, which is ideal, right? You've built the business that can stand on its own. But let's say you haven't yet. Let's say you still have some aspect of client involvement or whatever. I'll use being a lawyer as an example because that's my area. And let's say I have a law firm and I still have one-on-one contact with my clients, but I have a team. So maybe I've got some partners, maybe I've got associates working for me, paralegal, receptionist, whatever it might be. I can always educate my clients. And this is where people are afraid to do this. But most businesses, most people don't expect that you're 24/7 always available, that you'll never have a vacation, that you don't have anything but them and their needs. And so when you work with people in a way that says, you're really important to me, but I have a great team, and the reason I have a great team is because we all contribute to your cause, it's not that hard to say, I'll be gone for 3 weeks. So-and-so is in charge of your case while I'm gone. We've already sort of, prepared for the fact that I'll be gone, and it's unlikely anything's going to happen that matters that'll need me. So when, if there's anything you need, call so-and-so. And they know that they can reach out to me if it's a dire emergency, but we don't expect that's going to happen because we're ahead of the ball. When that happens, you're not going to get a call. Nobody's going to call you. You're not that important.
Not as important as we think we are sometimes, right?
No, like we think we're more important than we are. And we think that the world revolves around the need for us to do the things. And it doesn't. And it especially doesn't when you've planned ahead, you're prepared for it, your people are prepared for it, and they can carry the ball while you're gone.
I love that response. Yeah, I've interviewed quite a few people, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody quite answer that question that way. And when we talk about integration, these principles of what we've been talking about today, what you just hit on is we think of our team as the people, us and the people within our business or under our leadership or, in our organizations. I don't think I've ever heard anybody really explain the clients and bring the clients into the team where now we're a community. When you leave, we all set those expectations with internal team.
Right.
To the team, we also need to set those expectations from what I just heard you say with our clients.
Right. And you want your clients to understand, I have a great team. Your clients should not think that you're the only valuable person in your business and that if they can't call you, they're being rejected or they're being screwed over because they paid the money for you, right? I had an experience many years ago where I had a very difficult partner who was the reason I left a partnership in a law practice. And he was someone who made sure his clients thought that he was the only one who knew anything. And that the people who were part of the team underneath him, so to speak, were just there to do the grunt work. And I was assigned to a case that involved someone who had a certain kind of case. The case was something I had experience with. This other partner had never had experience with that. I was assigned to be the partner in charge on that case, and I had an associate working with me. But that gentleman, that client, never stopped thinking that the other partner in the firm was quote unquote his lawyer, and that my involvement was like an imposition on him. He was thrown off to somebody who wasn't that guy. And it was because of how that guy introduced me in a meeting where I felt it would be rude to respond in some way when I was being treated like I was less than or not important. And I'm not joking, 5-6 years later, that client called me one day and he said, "Oh my God, I have to apologize to you." And I'm like, I haven't even spoken to you in years, right?
Wow.
And ironically, I had turned down he had a restaurant that was damaged in a hurricane, and I turned down his work because I don't want to work with people like that. And as someone, and this is another thing, when you own your own business, you don't have to work with people who drag you down and make you feel bad and that you don't enjoy working with.
Love it.
Turn it down. So I was too busy to work for that guy. And he called me later and he said, "I'm going through these papers and I realized that your name is above the line on all of them." And I was like, okay. Well, in a lot of old school law firm letterhead, the partners are above the line and the associates are below the line on the letterhead. So apparently he'd been treating me with this complete lack of respect all the time because he thought I wasn't a partner because of how that person had treated me and in front of him. And he thought that it was okay to treat the associate with a lack of respect. I wasn't the associate, but that's what he thought. And I said to him then, I said, "Well, I accept your apology. Thank you for calling and letting me know that. But to be candid, I would expect you to treat any of my staff with the respect that you would treat a partner, because all of my staff are important. They all do important things and they're all part of the team." And he apologized again. And then he tried to get me to help him out with another kind of case. And again, I was too busy. But, it's so important. And yes, the client should be part of that conversation, because when the client is part of that conversation and they know that you're backed up by great people who have their back, they're not going to be worried that you're gone on vacation with your family. They're going to be happy. Go have fun. I want to hear about your safari when it's over.
I love that. No, Michelle, we've had such a great conversation today, and I think I could talk to you for quite some time because there's so much left that I've written down that I want to know. So maybe a follow-on interview. But today, just to wrap up the conversation in this episode, we started out with burnout, right? And really that burnout led you to this new beginning.
Yeah.
New beginning, and how the time management piece fits in there, how, educating ourselves and educating our team and involving our clients as part of that community. What lasting thought would you leave the listener today as we wrap up this episode?
Get clear on who you are and what lights you up. That's so important. And if you can have that as your base, you understand, and I'm not talking about big picture, your passion, your purpose, any of that. I'm talking really little stuff like, I feel good when I have eye contact with my kid and we both laugh about something. I feel good when I see the sunshine on the water. I feel good when, little things that light you up, things that make you feel alive. And you can proactively bring that into your life on a moment's notice, then you will not burn out, and you'll make sure that you're getting those things on a regular basis. If you're bringing that joy into your work, if you're bringing that joy into your home, you're never going to feel that resentment, that detachment that you would have if you gave up yourself to your career. That's when people get burned out.
Perfect. Thank you so much for pouring into our audience today. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure for me. I took down 2 pages worth of notes here just listening to you. So I know it was a value to our listeners. Everybody, I believe in you. Go be great. We'll talk to everyone later. Bye-bye.